The term trauma, it's bandied about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We see it a lot in social media. What again is the impact of social media with the way trauma has permeated our language?
Yeah, I mean it's such a it's such an important question, and I think that you know, especially people who work in the trauma field, yay, that there's a growing awareness of what trauma is, and we're talking about it, and there's not shame attached. Well, there still is, of course, stigma and, attached to it in some situations, but to some extent it being part of the dialogue that people are having, at one level we're going, yay, that it's out there. But like anything, if it's out there too much, then one of the risks is that everything becomes trauma. As Sam was saying before, you go to a movie and it was a bit scary. I'm going to the dentist, and it's traumatizing because I became upset. So that idea of trauma becoming associated with upset, they are different things, and we actually need to be really clear about that, because otherwise we either can overreact to upsets, or we can start to become dismissive of trauma, because people can go, oh, for goodness sake, everybody's trauma. And so, again, it's that kind of being able to work out the difference between the two. And I think that, one of the downsides, or one of the realities of social media is that, you can Google, symptoms, and what comes up is, your Dr. Google can give us some really helpful information, but also can give us lots of serious information that we're not quite reading accurately or seriously. And so you've got young people Googling or communicating around symptoms or around things they're experiencing. And so sadness isn't just sadness, which is a normal thing we go through, it becomes depression. Anxiety isn't just anxiety, it becomes panic attacks. And so there's this kind of revving up or glorifying or kind of amplifying of what's going on, because we've now got a name for it. And I think there seems to be, and I'm stepping into this sort of more generalising kind of frame of going, we can't just kind of sit with something not being known. We've got to have a name for it. We've got to have a frame for it, because that then makes people go, right, well, I'm this now, whereas in actual fact, there's a lot of stuff which, again, diagnostically, as we talked about with trauma involves something that I thought I was going to die, thought someone I loved was going to die. I was completely overwhelmed and incapacitated in terms of my ability to cope with it. That is trauma, or experiencing trauma. There's a lot of other things which scare the hell out of us and make us very distressed, and they are equally important to deal with and support, but they're not trauma. Would you say anything to that, Sam?
Yeah. Oh, no, I think you've answered that well. I was just going to say, I think the pressures on adolescents these days are huge, and maybe there's almost this need to identify with something. I don't want to say it's fashionable, but that, well, such and such has got this, well, I've got this. And trauma is just such a great word it can just cross the board, can't it? Like, there's so many potentials.
And it kind of signals back off and don't push me, because I'm traumatized. And again, sometimes that's really appropriate, but sometimes it's actually, even if you were traumatized, you've still got a bedtime, or you still actually need to go to school. So, it's that having confidence as a parent that, trauma, there's some things that, can happen, and we've talked about some of them today that can help, but it doesn't mean you step away from boundarying, or supporting your young person to be themselves alongside this experience, as opposed to this experience taking over who they are and over their identity.